Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel we post writing tips, unboxings, book hauls, book reviews and the occasional vlog. And today I have another writing tips video for you, and we are discussing my 10 top tips in writing LGBTQ plus characters. First of all, happy Pride Month everyone. It is June, which means it is Pride, and I am going to a Pride this year. I keep wanting to go to a Pride festival and I just somehow always end up booked on the day it's on. Don't have a clue why. I'm gonna try my best this year to get to one of the Pride marches and festivals going on. There is one locally here in Abergavenny, so I really want to go to it, but we will see. I would also like to say, as we discuss my 10 top tips on writing LGBTQ plus characters, to mention is why are writers so scared of these characters? The LGBTQ plus community are just people, and like all of your characters, they are just other characters. And the fear people have, I think, is just in getting it wrong. Now, these 10 top tips are basically ways that you can reassure yourself that you won't get it wrong if you are open and ask people, like all the characters in your book. For example, writing LGBTQ plus characters should have the same amount of fear for someone as a female writer writing a male character or a male writer writing a female character. It is the same difference. If you are straight writing a gay character, of course you don't know everything. That's why you ask. If you are a lesbian writer and you are writing a bisexual character, again, ask. It's the same as male, female, female, male writers. You don't know. You could technically apply the same thing to writing a sibling in a book. If you yourself don't have siblings, research. That's all this is. So before we get into my top 10 tips, that's all I wanted to say is remember, as a writer, if you are scared to write LGBTQ plus characters, it's all just about asking. That's all. They are people, just like all your other characters. That's it. Before I get into my top 10 tips, don't forget, if you like what you see, to subscribe to this channel. Your continued support means a lot, so thank you guys so much. Alright, let's get into it with tip number 1. Write them like you would any other character. If you haven't already seen, I have done a video on writing characters. That link is above me now. And basically, follow those tips for your LGBTQ plus characters, because they are just other characters and they follow the exact same guidelines as any other character. Watch that video. They're just people. Number 2, critique partners. As I said in the opening of this video, if you're writing any character who is part of a community that you yourself are not part of, i.e. I am white, in my current novel I am writing a black female protagonist, I must ask people in that community if I am doing anything wrong. With critique partners, if you're writing a specific type of book, you want to find critique partners who are part of the community you're writing, or other writers who are writing in that genre or with that community in their work also. Therefore, you would presume that that critique partner has also done research into this area, or that they themselves are part of the group that you are trying to write. Getting a varied range of critique partners will always help your work. You can see the use and how to get critique partners in my critique partner video. That link is above and below me now. But use your critique partners, seriously. Number 3, beta readers. You can see where we're going with these tips, can't you? Beta readers are readers who can read your work before you go to editor or to publication. They are not writers. They are not part of the publishing community or the writing community. They are avid readers. Now, for your beta readers, as I've said in my beta reader video, that link is above and below me now, you want to get readers who are in your target audience or people who are represented in your book. For example, like I gave in that video, if you're writing a middle grade fantasy, you probably want to include some middle grade readers in that, and I mean actual 13, 14-year-olds, not just adults who read middle grade, because you will always see things in a different light. So likewise, if you're writing LGBTQ plus characters, you want to make sure you have a varied beta reader set, preferably including people within that community, because they will know more than you if you're not in that community. They will be able to tell you if you've accidentally made any slurs, if you are misrepresenting, or if you've gone overboard, if you're going too much into it and they're like, no, don't need that. It's just to check your work. Number 4, sensitivity editors. Now, a sensitivity editor is, as it says in the title, part of the editing stage. So you would pay a sensitivity editor. And like any other editor of a line editor, your formatting editor, the sensitivity editor's role is to read your work to check any sensitivities. So if you are writing for a community you yourself are not part of, or you're writing something that's very gritty, something that's going to deal with some big issues, you may want to use a sensitivity editor because they will be able to check your work to make sure you're not falling into any of those holes we all don't want to go into if you are being stereotypical. If you are being a little bit misguided or just hitting it wrong, they will check this for you. And again, like your critique partners and your beta readers, sensitivity editors will tell you which specific areas they are most qualified to edit. So check the editor, read books that they have edited to see if they deal with the issues within your book, and they will check your book to see if you've fallen into any accidental problems. We are all guilty of biases. We're all brought up in social communities that have biases. You cannot escape them. All you can do is learn from them. Never be insulted if someone reads your work and points out something you've misguidedly said or misjudged. Criticism hurts, of course it does, but that's why they are there to edit, and that's why you have beta readers and critique partners. Take the critique or the review and learn from it. They're not trying to attack you personally. We all have biases that we all don't want. All we can do is listen and learn. No one is guilt-free of this. Number 5, walk a mile in their shoes. And no, I do not mean become the character. I mean do your research, like you would any other character. If you're writing a character with PTSD, I'm sure you've done research into PTSD. I'm sure you will try to talk to people who have PTSD. If you're writing a gay character, talk to the gay community. Ask them their experiences. Ask them what means the most to them. Ask them how it was to grow up in that community or to not have found that community even. Anyone in the LGBTQ plus community has grown up differently to someone not in that community, just like you will have grown up differently to someone in the LGBTQ plus community. Everyone has different experiences, so do your research like you would any other character. I mean, come on, when you're writing an assassin, how many authors are actually an assassin? I know that's very broad, but think about it. If you're writing a character who is not you, i.e. someone sitting somewhere in an office, a cafe, in your own home, writing a book on a computer, on paper, on a typewriter, whatever is your vibe, you're not going to know what it's like to stab someone. I really hope you don't know what it's like to stab someone. So what do we do as a writer? We envisage it. We imagine it. We try to step into the character's shoes. LGBTQ plus is exactly the same. Any other character, walk a mile in their shoes, work it out, do your research. Number 6. The characters are more than their sexuality. Now my next few points are going into avoiding the holes that writers often fall into when writing communities they are not part of. If you're writing an LGBTQ plus character, one of the many cliches and problems that happens quite often in movies and books is that the writer overemphasizes their sexuality. Now, if you're writing a book which deals with issues within this, if you're writing a very sexual romance, a very spicy book, you'll probably delve into the sexuality quite a lot. But if you're writing a fantasy adventure, I don't know about you guys, but I rarely read a fantasy epic, which isn't a spicy one, that delves into a heterosexual character's sexuality. Generally, it just skips past that. At most, you get who they fancy. That's exactly what your LGBTQ plus character should be like. They are not just their sexuality. Like any of your other characters, their LGBTQ plus characters have a backstory, have a world outside of that community. They have goals, they have dreams, they have problems, they have negative aspects of their personality and positive aspects of their personality. Their sexuality does not define them. There is so much more to them. And you want to make sure your character is not flat. Like any other character, they have a life outside of that one aspect of them. This kind of goes into my grey characters. You know, your villain is not just a villain, they have a life. Your hero is not just a hero, they have other aspects to their characters. Your LGBTQ plus characters are people. They have jobs, they have lives, they have friends, fears, wants, needs. Don't become obsessed with their sexuality just because you're trying to write an LGBTQ plus character. Number 7, talk to people within the community you are writing. Just talk, learn, ask questions. People aren't insulted when you ask questions. People can be insulted if you presume something about them, of course. But if you openly say to someone, I'm writing a book, I have a protagonist who is lesbian and I myself am straight, I was just wondering if you would mind answering some questions for me. I'm just trying to do some research into my book. Generally, people aren't going to mind that. If you are asking someone who is transsexual and you are writing a character who is going through that process, or a character who has gone through that process, I'm pretty sure they're not going to be insulted if you just want to ask them about their journey, if you want to ask them what difficulties they had, if you want to ask them, how they felt after the process, how much better they feel as a person. They're not going to mind this. They are going to mind if you presume something about them and write it in your book without asking. Number 8, do not make someone a token character. By this I mean, do not write a set of characters and just make sure one is gay and that's all that's about them, to hit a sort of diversity quota. You don't want to do this in any shape or form for any type of person. An LGBTQ plus character is not a token character. They are a character, and you should have multiple of them. You should have varied people in your work, same as you should have varied abilities of people in your work. Not everyone can walk. Number 9, do not over-attend the aspect of being LGBTQ+. Unless you are writing a book which deals with LGBTQ+ issues, that should not be the main goal of your book. If you're writing a book that deals with these issues, then of course it needs to be one of the main parts of the book, and you need to very much do a lot of research into this. If you're writing a fantasy adventure and a couple of your characters happen to be part of the LGBTQ+ community, then you do not necessarily need to have these issues. If you are making a brand new world, does your world have to have sexism? That's your choice as the writer. It's the same for LGBTQ+. If you're writing an entirely new world in a fantasy genre, do people need to be worried about if they're gay, lesbian, straight, bi? Is it an issue? Is it frowned upon? Is it glorified? Is it anything? Is it literally another type of person? Same as genders in your book. Do you need to address this problem in your book? It's a question you need to ask as you're writing. Is that actually important to your story? If the answer is no, do not fixate on it. And finally, number 10. This links into the token character. Do not just make one character part of this community to hit a quota. And in this, specifically, do not just make a villain part of the LGBTQ+ community. This is a very bad and harmful cliche that has been done a lot, where the villain, for some reason, is very flamboyant or part of the LGBTQ+ community, and the villain uses this to make the protagonist, who is quite often a straight male, feel uncomfortable. That is not okay because it is villainizing the LGBTQ+ community, and what do we say? That's just wrong. Do not do this. And that's it for my 10 tips on writing LGBTQ+ characters. I hope you found this useful. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, because as soon as I upload, click that little bell down below. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook and Tumblr. I post my bookish pictures as well as my writing tips and unboxings on there. I will return to the start of this video of, most importantly, don't forget LGBTQ+ people are people like any other people, which means LGBTQ+ characters are just other characters and should be treated the same as any other character. As a writer, do not be afraid of writing characters in any community. Do your research and ask like any other character. There is a stigma of fear around writing characters outside of your community, because if you get it wrong, there's the fear that obviously you will be penalized, that you'll be attacked on this. That is not the case. All you're doing is trying to write books that represent the characters you're writing and the world that you are creating. The more varied the characters in your book, the more people can relate to your characters, and ultimately the more wholesome your book can be, and just the more accurate to this world. So don't be afraid of writing characters outside of your personal community. Do your research, ask for critique partners, beta readers. As always with your writing, just get it checked. Don't be afraid. People are people and characters are characters. And thanks for watching, guys. Bye!